Okay, so it looks like we can start our panel discussion of today. I'm very happy to see a lot of guests in our university, in our international week. I am Māra Arāja. I am a director of Information and Communication Science direction here in Vidzeme University of Applied Sciences, and actually I am also a graduate of this university, so I have quite long history here, and it's good to see how we can somehow make this history also together during these international weeks and during exploring a lot of interesting topics. As today, we will talk more about creative industries and how the technologies emerge, the future of them, and what we can see now in different countries, as well as what are our future predictions, maybe what will happen in 5 or 10 years. For start, I would like to, I also give lectures in university, and I cannot start my talk without giving definitions. So I will start with the definitions that with creative industries, we understand a diverse and complex sector which is made up of a variety of subsectors, from performing arts to computer games, graphic design to advertisement. So as you can see, it's a quite broad view of concepts. And basically, we can tell that creative industries are all around us. They are the clothes we wear, the buildings we are in, we live in, where we work, the music we listen, the books we read, the adverts on our screen, apps we use. So most probably, each of you at this moment are also in some creative industry as well. And as you can see, there were a lot of possibilities we can spin our today's discussion. But to keep the focus, we will try to divide our conversation in 3 parts. We will talk more about impact from technologies to creative industries. All my guests today represent here today, and what we can do in higher education institutes to improve the future skills of the students. We try to make as a great specialists in these industries as well. And at the end, of course, as I already mentioned, about the challenges we are facing and about the future of industry. So for you to be this conversation more interesting, not only me as a talking head, I have invited 3 guests as speakers. Ieva from Riga Technical University, director of RTU Culture Center Latvia. Thank you, Ieva, for coming. Fleur Deboutte from UC Leuven-Limburg, lecturer from Belgium. Thank you, Fleur, for coming. And Nataliia Cherkasova from Kharkiv State Academy of Culture, from Department of Film and Television Directing and Screenwriting. Thank you, Nataliia. And her colleague, Olga, will help her with translation today. And I'm very, very thankful for all of you to join me today. And to start our discussion, I would like to firstly emphasize argument from European Center for Creative Economy that creative businesses in nowadays generate spillover effects, which are additional benefits to places, society, through the overflow of concepts, ideas, skills, knowledge, and other different types of capital. That means that these industries can give new ideas we can spread to other sectors, not only talking about creative sectors. We can catalyze innovation, we can attract skilled workers, and other ways how we can help develop whole society. So what I would like to impact with this is that this is a very, very important part. I already heard we had a discussion yesterday more about businesses as it is, but don't forget about the meaning of creative industries in all this. And finally, I would like to ask each of you to share how you are connected with this topic. And Nataliia, maybe you can start and give us insight what happens now in film industry in Ukraine. You already wrote me that you had a film festival, and I think that's amazing that there is enough encourage people who are ready to work with this at this moment. So, yes, word for you.
Thank you. Labен.
Good
afternoon. Добрий день всім. Ми з України з колегою. Я хотіла сказати, щоб ми все встигли розповісти і показати вам. Ми з колегою будемо швидше це робити разом, тому я сподіваюся, все заплановано буде зроблено. Отже, я кінознавець. І тому піде мова саме про мистецтво кіно, яке є наймасовішим. На жаль, війна з Росією – це величезний виклик для всіх українських кінематографістів. У таких складних умовах вони продовжують знімати, перемагати. Я маю на увазі «Оскар 20 Day in Mariupol», де продюсером фільму була наша випускниця Академії Харківської державної академії культури Василіса Степаненко. І створюють якісні проєкти з використанням сучасних технологій. Прошу.
She's a film expert. The war with Russia is a huge challenge for all filmmakers. Despite such difficult conditions, they continue filming, achieving victories. For example, this is an Oscar. The winner was a student of our academy for film 20 Days in Mariupol and creating high-quality projects using modern technologies.
Пропоную ознайомитися з останніми тенденціями за 3 роки.
Just before the premiere, STB channel researching a trailer for the series The Last Lady of the Beloved, which was filmed before February 24, 2022, where the Russian actor Prokop Dubravin was replaced by Ukrainian actor Dmytro Saransky using deepfake technology.
This is problem is true for many films and TV series created before the start of the war with Russia.
Ukrainian filmmakers Mikhailo Penivsky created the short film The Phantom of Christmas, a story about Christmas during the war in Ukraine. It won 3rd place in the EL Holiday Film content hosted by Curious Refugees and Epidemic Sound, competing against other films created with the help of artificial intelligence. For the first time in the history of the Odessa International Film Festival, an event poster was created using artificial intelligence. The team selected from hundreds of options generated by AI. As part of the Odessa International Film Festival, the first AL Festival, Megago AL Festival, was held in 89 participants. Filmmakers could submit short films of up to 10 minutes, created using various AL tools. Next one.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you for this insight. I was amazed about that there is already a festival using IE, not just like a part of a festival or something like that. And also you already mentioned a little bit this possibly dark side of technologies if we talk about deep fakes, if we use them in movies, and it's like a good scenario, but still as experience show, it's also a dark side of technologies at this moment. Thank you, Natalie. And Ieva, you are a director of Cultural Center of RTU, so that means that you work with students who wants to wants to take a part in different activities as dancing and singing, and I understand right? And that most probably means a lot of personal contacts, but most probably there are also an impact of technologies you see in your work.
Yes, hi. Quite a lot, yeah. In our daily work, we give students opportunity to engage, to develop, and to learn a lot by joining different culture groups. As you mentioned, it's dancing, singing, theater, creative arts, all the creative industry spheres, and so they develop their skills, their knowledge. And what do we try to do? We try to go along the future, along with the modern technologies, and give them a chance to get the knowledge they need to implement in all these activities, to engage more. So we give them the knowledge and experience to use these technologies, modern technologies, possibilities in dancing, singing, in all these aspects.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. So I suppose concerts are becoming more and more interesting when the students are showing their like new skills somehow, I don't know, learned in social media somewhere or something like that.
It is, and there's also a very interesting aspect that we try to, and we see the students are really interested in combining different areas, and by the tools of technology. Mm. So combining dancing and singing, combining arts and dance, theater and dance and all this, but it is possible by the use of modern technologies. So,
okay, thank you, Fleur. You come from a quite different field, from a language and translation field. I not so professional in this, but I suppose that the translation is the one field where the IE does a lot of work now and change extremely your field of work.
Mm-hmm. I think that's the general perception indeed, that it has rapidly changed with the emergence of these large language models. But I think the entire translation field as a professional industry has already adapted so much with the come of machine translation, which is already 10, 15 years old, actually. So translators today aren't people in their small rooms anymore translating on paper. They've been working with machine translation for years. And in that sense, the emergence of these large language models or generative AI tools haven't really disrupted the industry as bad as machine translation did years ago. Mm-hmm. What we do see is that there's like a lot of low-stake jobs, like a local, a local bakery, for example, wanting to do a website. They will use generative AI if they want to do their website also in English, also in French, when they originally made it in Dutch, for example. And that's a job for a translator that isn't really presented to a translator anymore, because you can actually ask AI to translate it for you. But all of the high-stake translation and interpretation jobs, I'm thinking about, for example, in the field of police investigations, for example, then you will still need a translator because you need it to be correct. You don't want people to be judged wrongly. And we had on the panel discussion yesterday people saying, would you like a judge AI to judge whether or not you followed some rules? And it's kind of that thing. You don't want a machine kind of taking over that decision-making process. So we see low-stake jobs definitely are moving out of the professional industry, but I think a lot of high-stake jobs are getting increasing. There's an increasing demand there. And the globalization also kind of increased the number of translation and interpretations needed to a huge amount. Like the people can't do it all anymore. So in that sense, it's a very good thing that we have generative AI, machine translation, actually to help translators do the work faster. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I think one of the key words maybe is this interpretation, because that's something we cannot wait from AI to do so easily as we can do.
Yeah, there are a couple of apps that actually work that way that you could use. But I think, and especially because we're in this International Week context, you kind of feel that you still need that human aspect to interpretation. There's a lot of goodwill and a lot of, how shall I say, a need to connect with people involved. And that kind of feels off when you have a machine in between the two of you. It kind of hinders communication because you can't move as quickly. And that's different when you have an interpreter on the scene, because they actually they're also a human being. They actually take that human connection into the equation. And that's a need that we see indeed in that sector.
Okay, we will talk further about soft skills. I think that's where they came in your field.
Definitely,
a lot. Yeah, but at this moment, we already mentioned here artificial intelligence, because I don't think that we can talk about technologies today without mentioning this term. And we see, and we already saw here, how the film sectors are changing, and literature are transforming. Artists, designers, they can use, for example, mixed reality to show their idea. Storytellers who can use interactive activities to create narratives that can respond to user input. I actually remembered one example of my life. Some 7 years ago, I think somebody knows the series Black Mirror. Somebody has seen them. And I remember that some 7 years ago, there were one series where you were able in Netflix to push the button and say yes or no, and then the scenario changed based on this, what you push. And I was so amazed about it. I told about it to all my friends. They were not so amazed. I don't know, it was maybe my issue, but it was like, it's amazing how we can change the user experience, not only like in apps we use, but also in movies we are watching, and this work behind it to develop all this scenario. It's still, I think I was writing this scenario and thinking that I need to watch this series again. And it's clear that these technological possibilities can give us a lot of new ideas. They can make maybe sometimes us more creative. They can help us to do a lot of work faster, as you mentioned already. But of course, there are still several challenges, I think. The one in my mind, of course, at first is copyrights, about who owns for example, this artificial intelligence made videos, but most probably you can add some other challenges we can see in emerging this technology in your fields. Natalie, maybe you are ready to start. Yeah? Just microphone. Yeah.
Якщо в першому блоці тематичному ми казали про те, що війна – це виклик для кінематографістів, то зараз я хотіла би відзначити, що війна – це виклик для студентів і викладачів. Тому що, наприклад, у Харкові зараз залишається навчання, на жаль, дистанційне. І тому саме в таких умовах для того, щоб формувалися професійні навички, дуже важлива і комунікація, і робота в команді, і критичний аналіз, який, наприклад, штучний інтелект, коли вже пропонує готові рішення, вони не стимулюють самостійного розвитку у студентів. Тому це дуже важливо, щоб особливо підкреслюючи дистанційну форму.
The war with Russia is a huge challenge for all students and teachers. The Kharkiv State Academy of Culture education is online. In these specific learning conditions, communication skills, critical analysis, and teamwork are very difficult.
Якщо казати про викладачів і як ми намагаємось в таких умовах використовувати технології, то це насамперед прямий контакт з стейкхолдерами. Ми підтримуємо зв'язок, ми намагаємося адаптувати наші навчальні програми під потреби кіноринку. Ми намагаємося відкривати нові спеціальності, які насамперед пов'язані з сучасними технологіями. І ми дуже раді вивчати і аналізувати досвід інших навчальних закладів, в тому числі і вашого університету.
The main context with stakeholders analyze training programs to meet the needs of the film industry, plan to introduce new specialization, and study the experience of various educational institutions.
Okay, thank you for this. What happens in the film industry? So maybe you know about translations, language.
Yeah, I think to tackle your question about copyright, I think that's in the translation industry a big one, especially because a lot of copyright law kind of attaches the copyright to the writer, which means that if a translation is made of a text, the translator holds copyright over that translation. But what happens when they actually use a machine to translate, and where does that right to actually monetize that translation, where does that stop and where does that start? That's a big issue, I think, in the industry right now. And if I take a look at what you maybe also mentioned to some extent is the biases and the kind of averaging out of a lot of data in these generative AI tools, for example. That's one of the big problems with it too, is that it's, of course, I remember when I took my master's in AI years back, I had this old professor who started one of the first lectures of the year, and he said, we call this artificial intelligence, and it's actually just statistics. It's just that. So we attach a lot of meaning to it, and we kind of humanize what the output of these bots actually is, while it is statistics, and it has all of the mathematical issues of averaging out a certain input that they get into that system, which also means that you cannot really bypass bias, because it will always spew out the average of what is actually expected in that data set. And we talked about it yesterday, I think, as well, to what extent we can actually avoid this, but that's also something that users of that technology that they have to keep in mind, and that they also have to be critical of what is the output of this system and how do we work with this, and who carries responsibility for that output. If I use that tool and I review it badly, what the output is a responsibility with me, or is a responsibility with the builder of the tool? Is a responsibility with the tool itself? Can we hold it accountable? That's really difficult. Yeah, so I would say that's one of the bigger challenges here.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Fleur. So, Ieva?
Yes, so regarding my expertise area, it's culture and event management. So for us, we see the biggest challenge is about the knowledge and experience. Because you see some cool technological tool, something to, you have an idea how to be creative, how to use more technologies, but the lack of knowledge, the lack of experience is still missing, and you implement, you do something, and then there are some mistakes or errors. So what can we do? It's all about education and giving more opportunities to try some kind of technologies, just jump in and do it. But that's a challenge, that's definitely a challenge. And the opportunities I see is the unlimitless possibilities to do something more, to grow, to try, and to innovate. We have so many great examples when some innovative technologies, some innovative ideas of technologies and how to use them are put into some kind of culture aspect or some event. And it's amazing. It's just to see these ideas and put them in action. So.
Okay. Thank you. I think this is a very good moment for us to go further and talk more about the skills we need and education we need to provide for those who want to work with creative industries. And before I will let you talk again a little bit information from my researches about what others are saying about creative industries. And European Union report about creative industry sector shows that there are a need of both highly specialized skills, so like more generic, for example, digital skills, technical, green skills, but as well there are very great importance to develop skills such as management, leadership, and soft skills we already mentioned, as innovative thinking and some entrepreneurial skills. So we can broad or view what we can do with creative industries. And what shows this report that as usually workers in creative industries, a big part of them are self-employed or freelancers who work there, and they lack resources to develop these skills. So I would think that as a part of the university, it may be our responsibility to give them at least very strong base of these skills, both technical skills and also these more soft skills. And maybe you can share what you know in your universities, which skills are like the most important for young professionals, and maybe you see skills they lack at this moment to fulfill their resources much more as possible. And maybe we as a higher education institution, how we can help to develop these skills. Fleur, maybe now you can start.
Yes, I think we kind of touched on the subject a little before, and I mentioned how low-stake jobs are filtered out of the industry, especially translation and interpretation. But that's not the entire picture. I think also a lot of very specialized and highly technical profiles are in danger of these emerging technologies, specifically because they're so narrow in their scope that it's very easy to train a generative AI tool, for example, just for that industry. I'm thinking about the example of a translator that used to give guest lectures at our university college, who was a specialist in translating manuals for printer systems. And that's such a niche industry, right? And that was the man's entire living. That's what he did. But it's obviously, with these emerging technologies, very easy, especially in a narrow scope context, to build systems to kind of replace people. So I think what we saw with the emergence of this technology is especially that people are required to be more generalist than they used to be. We often think about students as we need to get them into a sector, get them into their niche, get them into their specialization, and then train them very highly. And the very highly trained jobs are the ones that are kind of safe for any automation, etc. And I think that's fundamentally untrue. And we see a very broad pull for people to be broader in their skill set. And I think that kind of aligns perfectly with what you just mentioned in that definition of what the EU said. We need people to have skills at all ends. And then the big question is, of course, from an educational point of view, how do you do that? How do you train people in 3 years on all of these aspects, get them into their languages at a very high level, get them into their soft skills, very high level, get them into their technical skills, very high level. And I think without a doubt, you kind of push yourself into the discussion of how do we encourage people to lifelong learn and how do we facilitate precisely that, because we will not be able to train people fundamentally in such a broad scope on all of these aspects, I think. Yeah, so.
I think this is actually a very refreshing view on this because I must agree that I also always were looked at this like we need to find our specific niche, how to work, what to learn, and so. But I cannot not agree to you. It was, I think, very precise that the skills we need today are so broad that it's actually maybe we must be quite clear that maybe it's not possible to learn all of them, and that's when this lifelong learning came in. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, can I maybe add something more? I don't know if this is true for all countries or if this resonates with you, but especially in Belgium, we have approached language teaching from a very, how shall I say, technical viewpoint in the last 10, 15 years. Our approach was always, if we get the message across, then everything is fine. Then it doesn't really matter if the grammar is correct, if the words are correct, as long as you get the message across, it's actually fine. And I think we also kind of are getting back from that point of view, which is a very narrow view on languages, to you should be able to understand the context. And that's exactly the same thing. You kind of want people to have a broader understanding of what is going on here. How are these persons' verbal cues, non-verbal cues? How do they add meaning to the conversation? Are they friendly to me? Are they not friendly? What do they mean when they shout? In some cultures, it's very common to shout at people. It doesn't mean you're angry. And in other cultures, it definitely means you're angry. And you want to get that message across. And then the question is also, can you kind of solve that with an AI tool? I don't know. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. Yes. Ieva, please.
Oh, well, I can totally agree that you need to have a combined education. You have to put a lot of topics together. And about something that's lacking, what I see from students in their daily life, that they really lack patience nowadays. And it's hard to keep their attention on something one. So you have to involve, you have to combine the knowledge you can provide and give. Yeah, also as we see from social media, that's also something to touch, because social media is something in nowadays through what we can see, these technologies, how we use them actually in all these aspects we're talking about. And as we all know, social media, it has to be a very quick information. If you don't get the audience, the youngsters' attention like in 5 seconds, their attention is gone. They just swipe the info away and go for another. So this is something I think to keep in mind, the lack of patience, and we have to keep this information we give, education we give, very interesting, exciting, and this is probably done by combining different kind of topics. So yeah, I cannot imagine culture events without movies. And I doubt that movies could be possible if there are no events where to show them. And also about the translation work, you cannot see the movies and understand if there is not a translator being part of all that. So, and it's all about also education. You have to combine the areas.
Okay. Thank you. I think that we don't. We need to think not only about the content, but as well about the form, how we teach the students. I see it in my everyday work that it's very important how to catch their attention. Hey, Nataliia?
Я хотіла додати, що у сучасній українській кіноіндустрії дуже активно використовується штучний інтелект. І це дуже важливо в окремих напрямках. От, на мою думку, я зараз це спробую показати.
Film chronicle restore using IEL, Ukrainian movement.
Чому це так дуже важливо? Тому що насправді історичний період 1918 року, хроніки залишилось лише 20 хвилин. І це надзвичайно важко реставрувати такі кадри, тому що вони дуже пошкоджені. І це не фотошоп, а це дуже складні програми, які використовуються до окремих кадрів. Тому це дуже-дуже складна робота.
In Ukraine, film industry very often use artificial intelligence, and for example, in 1980 is only 20 minutes movie, and very difficult is to restore these movies. And we don't use Photoshop. We must use very difficult program for this process. We have very little of these films, chronic in general, for these periods. No, I just said about this. Creating professional level dubbing in any language. The first count 2023 is a film, first film translated using artificial intelligence. 18% of the dialogues in the film were translated by AI, with only 20% done by real voice actors. Even colleagues from America and Canada who had the chance to hear part of the material know the quality of both the creating and technical aspects of the project. Thank you for your attention.
Я ще хотіла трішечки додати, що у нас у кожного є мобільний телефон. Це така маленька кіностудія. І з одного боку технології вони можуть бути чудовим інструментом в руках людини, а з іншого мені все ж таки здається, що людина залишається ключовою фігурою в творчості, будь-то кіно, телебачення, театр, танці тощо.
All of us can create film because we all have a phone, but she thinks that a human is a main figure in this process, and not some technologies.
Yes, I actually wrote down during your speech that I think in the creative industries the idea is the most important thing, and we cannot get the idea from computer, and that's why we can feel quite sure about where we stand. But of course, we do need a lot of different skills nowadays. What maybe were some years ago, and also I saw that this film restoration, which were made by some mathematical methods, yes, and that reminds me that my students, I work with journalists and communication students, and on the first course, when I ask them why they want to study this, a big part of them are saying, because I don't like math. I don't like mathematics in school, so that's why I decide to be a journalist. And that's when I say I have a bad news for you at this moment, because of course you do need these skills still in this field as well. Okay, I think that we already go to a conclusion side a bit, and firstly, I would like to ask you how you see the future in your field. I don't know, in closest 5, maybe 10 years. I don't know what is like the right amount at this moment, because everything changed so fast. But your predictions, what may happen and how it may impact maybe our everyday life as well?
Yeah, it's like you say, hard maybe to make a prediction over 5 years, 10 years. I think what we see, we talked about social media already a little. There's And we also talked about how the output of these generative AI systems is very averaging, like it gives you an average. And that's also what we see, for example, in all of these image correctors, the filters that we use on our social media, right? They average us out. They make kind of this general idea of what does it mean to be beautiful. They kind of push that on us. And that kind of also takes away individuality. And I think what you see, like a lot of trends on social media nowadays are really pushing into that authenticity. If you look at people making pictures, making very fast-paced, unedited videos, people making unedited pictures that are a little ugly, a little edgy on the side. So I think there is a push for more authenticity because people get fed with so many averaged out, made beautiful, made slick into this one idea of this one norm of what it means to be good. And the same thing happens with text, for example. I always ask my students at the beginning of the year, a lot of email programs now, for example, have these pre-recorded answers, right? You get an email and then it already gives you some suggestions. You can send this back, this back, this back. And then I ask people, do you use those? And a lot of people don't. And then I ask them, why don't you? Is it because it's wrong? And then they often say, no, it's not wrong at all. It's a perfectly fine example, or I can use it definitely. But the thing is, I don't want the other person to think that I used like a pre-suggested answer, because that takes the human factor out of it. So I will write like another type of answer that makes it obvious that I wrote it and that I want to connect and that I want to show the goodwill. So I think if I have to like predict one thing, don't hold me accountable, but I think that's that drive for authenticity that won't go away. And as the technology emerges, I think that draw for authenticity will be even stronger. Yes.
Okay, thank you. I do the same with my emails. I wrote them myself and I see.
Yeah.
And
I just don't want to be caught that way. Yeah, I know.
Okay, thank you. Ieva?
I think that, well, definitely our daily work and routine in future will change. It's going to thrive us. Using more technologies and combining different areas, I think it's going to thrive us more to globalization aspect, that we can be everywhere and do anything, and it's going to get more wide open opportunities for us. But another aspect is also about innovation. Well, that's important in culture aspects, I think in different ways. And innovation is something that's gonna change our future or give a huge impact. And if I may, I can give a small, quick example that recently just blew my mind. But I think it's a good example that shows that you can combine, by being innovative, you can combine different aspects using technologies. That in Riga Technical University, students really thrive for this innovation, and especially in this technological part. So a group of students, they innovated, they made a new product. It's a costume that's that you put on, and it's full of sensors. So it gives you, you listen to the sound, and it gives you motion on your body, so you can feel it. You can feel what's happening around. So the sound goes through movement through your body. So this is innovation. So now who's the first one to catch up what to do with it? And I'm amazed because in the culture area, I see there's so many possibilities with such a technological innovation. For example, and then again, we jump in completely different fields. But can you imagine a person who cannot hear? A deaf person puts this costume and goes to a theater, goes to a concert, to a music concert. He sees a show, and he can hear the music through his body, through the... So this is something I think the future holds, and we have to use the technology, but definitely try to keep this human part. This is so important, to keep the human part and not not for some time. I think we don't have to let the artificial intelligence write emails for us. We have to hold on a bit, yes.
Okay. Thank you, and these were very great examples, I think. Thank you. Hey, Nataliia, before your conclusion, words about the future of technologies in kino industry. You should take a microphone. Yeah.
Якщо коротко, якщо дуже стисло, по-перше, мирним, по-друге, я думаю, що воно українське кіно буде дуже активно розвиватися, тому що якщо в найскладніших умовах ми можемо продукувати новий контент, то потім, я думаю, його буде ще більше. І мені дуже хочеться, щоб, наприклад, наші студенти, які у нас зараз навчаються, щоб вони були впевнені, що вони далі зможуть знімати свої роботи і в Україні, і за кордоном.
Please take it.
In short, first of all, I think that it's will a peaceful life, and in the second, it's we will create more films, and our students will work not only in Ukraine but in the other countries the same.
Thank you very much for these conclusion words for all participants of discussion. I think we can be happy that in creative industries it still means a lot to be a human and to have an ideas and to see the context and understand what happens. Of course, it means we need a lot of new skills to acquire to how to use these technologies in such a good projects as you mentioned to broaden the possibility we can do with culture and not only with culture, actually, in our everyday life, because as I started, that we can see creative industries all around us, and they are becoming more maybe with more technical input, but still we will be needed as a human beings as well, and that's a nice conclusion, I think, for our today panel. Thank you very much, everyone.